Story time. So there was this one girl in 7th grade. Let's call her Lexi. Lexi was a pick-me girl. She was always like, boys are less drama, you know? And Lexi used to sit next to me in class. And I was throwing a Halloween party later this week. I decided to write a list of what we're gonna be doing at the party in class while Lexi's sitting next to me. She looks over at my notebook and sees it. And she was like, I'm invited, right? I looked at her and I just didn't say anything because I didn't want to tell her she's not. She got really excited and was like, I'm gonna be wearing a devil costume. Actually, no, I want to be the angel. And at the end of class, she told me to send her the location and information on her Instagram. And I remembered that Lexi had a lot of spam accounts and accounts she doesn't use. So I decided to send her the information on one of the accounts she doesn't use. 2 days later, Lexi sends me.
This is why Bring Your Pet to School Day is banned from my school. I just want everyone to know that this was bound to happen. The kids at my school are super irresponsible. I don't know why the teachers thought this was a good idea. I was one of those really irresponsible kids, and I didn't pay attention to which pets were allowed to be brought to the school. They weren't allowed to stink, they had to be a certain size, and you weren't supposed to bring them on the bus. If you were bringing a pet, you had to be a car rider. Well, I might have broken some of these rules. So I had a pet milk snake. It was about 3 feet in size, and I brought it to school without telling my parents because you had to get a parent signature form. And no, I was not a car rider. I brought it on the bus. I was carrying it in my backpack, and my backpack was all the way zipped up, so there was no way for it to get out. So I got on the bus, and then like 5 minutes later, my bus buddy got on the bus. Asked him, did you bring your pet to school? He goes, no, I'm on the bus, aren't I? I was like, okay, I'm on the bus and I brought mine. He tells me we weren't allowed and then he has to see it. When I opened my bag to show him, it wasn't there. Then I hear my bus driver scream and she swerves the bus, like for parts.
So my boyfriend ended up cheating on me with his stepsister. And also other girls as well. So once this first girl reached out to me and said that she had been dating Darren, I blew up in his face. She explained to me that they had been dating for a few weeks, so I ended up breaking up with him. But then he was blowing up my phone and threatening to unalive himself, so I got extremely worried. And I ended up just giving in to getting back together with him. And once I got back together with him, things were pretty much a smooth ride for 6 months. It didn't seem like he was talking to any other girls, and he would come to my mom's house on one weekend and then my dad's house on the other weekend. So we were seeing each other every weekend. And it was so nice until I got a message from a different girl who also claimed that they had been dating. So again, I blew up in his face and I broke up with him. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And once again, the manipulator in him made a reappearance and he blew up my phone just crying, saying that he was going to end his life, and again, getting me to fall for his stupid tricks. This time I decided to go about it a different way and get all the social media passwords. I would log in and check periodically, but if you guys remember, I did not have a Snapchat. So the day that my parents allowed me to have one, I went ahead and logged into his.
One time I was behind the register at Victoria's Secret. This customer walks in and immediately everybody spots her as a red flag. She's just picking up items, throwing them in her bag, not looking at sizes, not looking at colors. So everybody's like, everyone's on their walkie like, watch this customer. She's coming to the fitting room. She's headed to the cash rep. Somebody get her. Check her ID. Get her. Get her. She has a bag full of stuff. And guess who gets her at the register? Me. So she comes to my register and she dumps out her stuff and we're having a regular conversation. Hi, how are you? Yada, yada, yada. Her total comes up to probably between $700 to $900. It was expensive. My manager is at the register next to me talking to me on the walkie. Ashley, make sure you get that ID. Don't matter what she's using, make sure you get that ID. So I ask her for the ID because she's paying credit. Why do you need to ask for my ID? Just take it, run it. I'm like, no ma'am, I'm sorry, I need your ID for the purchase. She starts to raise her voice at me.
Storytime of how I found out that my little sister's teacher hid cameras in their bathroom. So my sister at the time was in 2nd grade and they have bathrooms inside their classroom. Well, it's just one bathroom inside the classroom that they all use. And at that school, 4th grade and below, every single classroom has a bathroom inside the room so the kids don't have to wander the halls. So parent conferences that night started at 6 o'clock and ours was scheduled for about 6:30. But we ended up not being able to make it at 6:30 because we had to do something, so we ended up coming around 7:45. Which at the time, everybody was already gone. So we go, and my parents sit down with the teacher and they talk. We had gone to Sonic before that, and I got a blue raspberry slushie, and I ended up spilling that all over the floor. So I run into the bathroom and I grab a bunch of paper towels, and right when I got in there, something just felt really weird to me. So after I cleaned it up, I walked back into the bathroom, and in the top right of the bathroom, in the corner, there was a box with a hole in it. I text my mom what I saw, and right after I get out of the bathroom, she says she has to go to the bathroom. I'm running out of time, like, for this crazy part, too.
When my parents decided to get a divorce, I chose to stay with my dad. He was more financially stable, and he also promised to take care of me in the future and help me go through college as long as I graduated. When my grandmother from my mother's side passed away, I received a $30,000 inheritance, and recently my grandfather from my father's side passed away and left me with $50,000 as well. I was also working part-time jobs, and with all of that, I was able to save enough to comfortably put me through my 4 years of school. One day, my mom surprised my stepsister and bought her a brand new car. I was kind of shocked because it was way out of their budget because I knew they were struggling financially. When I looked at my bank account, I saw that a majority of my money was missing. I have my mom on all of my accounts because she wanted to monitor to make sure I don't spend too much money. I never would have thought she would have taken this and paid for my stepsister's car. Her reasoning was that my stepsister had a brighter future and had a bigger possibility of going to an Ivy League school and providing for us in the future. While I, a student who gets mostly B's and C's, would just take over the family business, so I didn't really need it and I could always work in the future.
My friend ate her pets. Story time. When I was in college, living in the dorms, we were not allowed to have pets. And at the time, I was friends with this girl, and we're gonna name her Vicky. And she was known for not following the rules. So one day, Vicky decides that she's gonna get some pet snails and bring them into the dorms. So she buys like 4 snails, buys them a little bowl, gets them little decorations, and sets them up inside of her room. And she was able to keep them a secret for about a month. Until one day, we had room inspections. So the RAs go around inspecting everybody's room, and then they come to mine. And while they're in my room, I text Vicky and I'm like, hey girl, they're coming to your room next. Make sure you hide your pet snails. And she texts me back and she's like, oh shoot, what am I supposed to do with them? And jokingly, I was like, eat them. They do it in France all the time. So after a while, the inspections are over and I head over to Vicky's room. And when she opened the door, she looked kind of sad. So I was like, what's wrong? Did they find your snails? And she was like, no, I ended up eating them. And I look over and their bowl is empty.
My neighbors are snitches. So yesterday I was really bored, so I just decided that I would drive around my neighborhood. So I got in my car, I was warming it up, whatever, and I see my neighbor staring at me through their window. So I'm like, is this dude really about to say something? So I just ignore him. I'm like, do whatever you want to do, I don't care. And I pull out of my driveway and I drive off. 2 seconds later, I see my neighbor's car following me. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're just leaving the neighborhood. Maybe they're going to the store or something. Maybe they're not even following me. So I take a left, they take a left. I take another left, they take another left. To the point where I make a whole circle and they keep following me.
Here's a story time on how I gave birth to my brother's son. So one day, like every other day, I was literally just sitting on the couch watching Hannah Montana episode 3, season 4, while I was wearing shorts and a tank top. My brother was at basketball while I was watching the show. One day, he finally came back from basketball practice, and I looked over, and he started glancing at me. He was looking up and down at me, just like it looked like he was expecting me to do something. I said hi, and he said hi back. But then he said, you look fine today, and I was so confused and shocked. He asked me if I wanted anything to eat, and I said sure, but I didn't even know he could cook if he was 13 years old. While he was cooking, I started smelling something off. No, I am lactose intolerant. And so when I started sniffing, it smelled like a grilled cheese. And I hate grilled cheese because it always makes my stomach upset. But when he gave it to me, he said it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And when I looked at him, I was upset and said, no, it's not. Come back for part 2.
So last night, I got the shit scared out of me. So last night, I was hanging out with my boyfriend, having a good time. And it was around 9 o'clock and he had to drop me off. So on the way back to my house, I got this really bad feeling in my stomach. I just felt really uneasy and I just had like a pit in my stomach. So when we pull up to my house, I asked my boyfriend if he could just sit outside for a minute because I felt a little uneasy. And obviously he said yes. But as I'm walking up to my front door, I hear somebody scream. And I don't mean the type of scream that's like, ah! I mean the type of scream that's like, ah! You know what I'm saying? So I run over to my boyfriend's car and I'm like, did you just hear that? And he's like, nah, I didn't hear shit. So I just tell myself I'm hearing things. Flash forward, it's later in the night around like 1 a.m. and I start having really bad paranoia. So I go out into the kitchen to get me some water when I look into my dad's room and I see glowing eyes staring back at me. Like right here.
So I just ran back to my room and it only gets worse.
Part 2 of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. Continuing on with the story, I don't know who she was on the phone with, but I overheard her on the phone saying that she was going to get rid of me. And honestly, I didn't really care and I didn't really think anything of it because I knew she was crazy, but I didn't think she was that crazy. So all of a sudden, she started making me breakfast. And I'm not a breakfast person. I can't eat right when I get up. So every time she would make me breakfast, I'd be like, thanks, but I'm not hungry. And she would get so mad. Like, so freaking mad. I'm not gonna get into all the little details, but comes to find out, she was putting rat poison in my food. She had set up cameras in my room. And I don't know what kind of sense this makes. I think she's just crazy, but she started to hide snakes in my room and claim it was my fault that the snakes were coming in my room. Yeah, doesn't really make any sense. Once I told my dad and my dad got out of his little in love stage with her, he finally stepped up and said something to her. And she admitted that she wanted me dead. He eventually called the cops, and to this day, she is in jail for attempted murder. Oh, did I forget to mention the day that he broke up with her, she tried to stab me in the throat.